Holly here from Your Past is a Gift. All right, my darlings, so continuing on from the previous video, because I didn't want to drag it on too long, we were talking about my parents and how they had a really rough childhood, okay? And they were deprived of love. They weren't shown love in any way, because from my dad's family, especially with boys, and I think this kind of went on for a long time. It wasn't just his family, but for some reason there's this myth, there's this idea that if you give love to boys, if you cuddle them a lot, you hug them a lot, you express love to them a lot, that it makes them soft. And boys are meant to be strong. You know, there's also that thing about boys not crying, not showing emotion because it's a weak thing. You know, all of that. So, you know, I think we have to change the way we look at it, because boys are no weaker or stronger than girls emotionally. You know, but that puts a big strain on boys to say that you're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to express all these array of emotions that we have inside of us, you know? So, because I know for me, you know, that trip to the dentist, when I wasn't allowed to cry, I wasn't allowed to yell, I wasn't allowed to express anything, you know, because it would embarrass my dad and he would walk out. We walked out and the first thing he said to me was what a strong little girl I was and how brave I was. And so for the rest of my life, I just associated that to be strong and brave was to not express emotion. And so you bottle it all up, always bottling, always storing it, you know, and it gets to a point where of course you've got all this stashed in there, and it will get to a point where it needs to. It's like a volcano. It's waiting to erupt, you know? And this happened a lot in my very first relationship, you know, with a boy. I fell in love, and what would happen was there would be things that would upset me, you know, that he would do. And because we were so different, you know, in our way of thinking, in our way of looking at the world, everything. And so I wouldn't say anything, you know, for fear of rejection, because if I said something, he might decide, oh, well, I'll just go find someone else that is happy with that, you know, always in the back of my mind that he was going to walk out. So I wouldn't say anything, and then something else would happen and I wouldn't say anything, but I wouldn't be happy with that, you know. And what happens is, if after a long time you keep doing the same, they keep treating you in a certain way and you don't say anything, and they treat you the same way again and you don't say anything, that person starts to think that that doesn't bother you, that you're okay with that treatment because you haven't said anything, you know, because you're afraid they'll reject you, because you're afraid they'll walk out on you, because you're afraid to lose them. So I want you to really think about that today. If you're in a relationship and there are so many things that bother you, could be little things, could be big things, it doesn't matter what the issues are, but you have a right to speak up and say, you know what, I don't like that. I don't. You have a right to say that and allow the other person, oh, okay, yeah, I'm used to doing that, my family's okay with that, we've always done that, but if you don't like it, I'll respect that. And I'll try not to do it with you. You know? It's that simple, but we complicate it. We start to think that, oh, if we say something, they'll get upset and they'll walk away. You know? And so this is what happens. Months and months and months of stuff going in that you don't like, that you're not happy with, that you don't agree with. It's all bottling up. And then one day, because this happened to me a few times, because we were in this relationship for quite a few years, just one day you have enough. And that one day you pluck up that courage and blah, verbal diarrhea. Everything that's ever bothered you from day one to this day, and it could be 3 years later, and it all comes tumbling out. All of it. And all of a sudden this person's like, what? Hang on a minute. That was like 3 years ago. And you'd be like, yep. Or that was like 6 months ago. Yep. It's okay not to like something, not to want something. It's okay. I'm telling you that it's okay. Because there'll be many things that the other person, could be a partner, could be a friend, it could be anyone, any relationship in your life. If you have friends, the same will apply. There'll be things that they don't like or they don't like doing with you. And that's fine. You don't all have to like the same things. That's why we're all different. But you have to respect each other. And it's all right if my partner didn't like doing something, we didn't do it. Like he didn't like going to discos and dancing and all that stuff. And I used to love doing that before I met him. But I stopped going to all those things because he didn't like it. The music was too loud. He didn't like dancing. We'd find other things to do. I compromised a lot with things that he didn't like, but I never spoke up about the things that I didn't like. And the truth of it was, now that I look at it with these eyes that I'm, wide open, I'm totally awake now to my life. The truth of it was that I didn't feel good enough to be with this person. I didn't feel that I deserved to be with this person. I felt less than because he was so much smarter than me. He was so bright, so clever. And even though I loved learning, what would take him an hour to learn, it would take me a whole day, a whole afternoon. I'd have to sit with the books and, do my thing, write it all out on paper, write it on a board and look at it and re-look at it and over and over. I could learn it, but my process was very slow. I had my own system and it was very slow. I'd get it in the end. I didn't have a problem getting it, but I would watch him and I would be blown away that he'd be looking at the same material and an hour later be like, yep, got it, off we go. And I'd be like, no, I need the afternoon. You go do something else and I'll figure this out, right? But I haven't got it in an hour. So this whole time, and I'd look at him and I'd think, he's so much better looking. He deserves to be with someone a lot prettier than me. And I say that because there's probably millions of you out there thinking the same. You look at your partner and you think, what are you doing with me? And the truth of it is that they see something. They see something. They see your light. They see who you are. And you can't see it. You can't see that magic that they see. And that's what keeps them in your life, that they see that little spark inside. And looking back now, we used to laugh a lot because I'm pretty goofy, so I used to make him laugh. And we had really good times when I wasn't overthinking it, when I wasn't too busy thinking that, or being jealous and clingy and all the things that I did because I was so young and so insecure at the time. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my value as a human being. And so all these things got in the way and would cause many arguments, many fights. So I want you to think about all these things today. Just because they might be with someone more attractive doesn't mean that person will make them happy. Okay? So start to look at really your value of who you are. Start to speak up. If you don't like something, just say it on the spot. Don't wait for a year later. This person will be like, what are you going on about? They would have forgotten by now. So be brave. Speak up. You've got nothing to lose. And if that person gets offended and walks away, they weren't meant to be there in your life in the first place. Love is about respect. You respect each other. If there's something they don't like, you compromise. Okay, let's do something else. If there's something you don't like, the same. Talk to each other. Be honest. that's the way to have a full relationship, a relationship that means something, you know, it makes you feel that you have value. All right, my darlings, remember to click like and subscribe below so you don't miss any of the messages, and I'll see you in the next video. I went way off track with that one. So I'm going to come back to the next video to talk about what I actually was going to talk about in this video. All right, but yes, please say it. Don't keep it bottled up for another year or another 2 years or another 3. Just say it and let that other person deal with it. You know, if they're not ready to hear it, then they're not ready to hear it, but don't keep it bottled up inside. It doesn't do you any good. It's just waiting to erupt. And it will. It will. You'll get to a point where you've had enough of not speaking up, of not being yourself. All right, my darlings. Love you guys. Remember to share the videos, okay? Because sharing is caring. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.